Give us a brief overlook of what we can expect.
Well, obviously, agriculture is being asked to enter the fuel industry. And this is really a new area for agriculture. But we know we have such a high dependence on foreign fuel. We're about 60% dependent on crude oil imports from the rest of the world. It turns out that about 30% of our imports that we get from out in the world are coming from not very reliable sources. Now, that may either be countries that are not very friendly to us from a political standpoint, or it might be countries like Nigeria that aren't very stable in terms of their politics or economics. So this great concern as we see our military presence around the world and our concerns about keeping shipping lanes open and trying to maintain peace, part of the reason for that is that we have a very high dependence. Our lifestyles are very dependent upon that flow of oil continuing. So as we look at agriculture, we're talking about agriculture as a potential source for maybe up to 25% of our fuel. This would be our liquid fuels, gasoline and diesel. And if we could replace that 25%, it would almost offset the 30% we're getting from unreliable sources today. So this is a tremendous push. We're just at the start of this. We're about 5% that agriculture is providing right now, and that's primarily in the form of ethanol. That's from corn, the corn seed used to ferment to make ethanol that can be blended into our gasoline. So we have a long ways to go. We are, as I said, just starting out in this. Agriculture can't supply all of the energy, but it can be an important part of the solution on our liquid fuels problems.
We have a lot of ethanol plants seeming to spring up here in the Midwest, and of course this is the Corn Belt. But 25%, that's a lot of biofuel we'll have to create here.
It is. There's no question about it. And again, as we look back to last fall's crop, our 2006 crop, if we would take all of the corn that we raised last year in the United States, converted that to ethanol, we could only supply about 14% of the gasoline. So I think it does tell us that we're going to need other mechanisms. We're going to need other feedstocks. And the great hope within the agricultural and biological area is that we're going to be able to move to a cellulose or a plant-based materials. Now, if we can do that, we can not just use the corn seed, but we could also use the corn stalks to produce ethanol. And of course, as we look at southern Indiana, what a wonderful opportunity for plant material, particularly trees. The wood products industry is being looked at, where they already have bark, trimmings from trees, sawdust that they may be able to use as a raw material source. Forage crops that would be on pasture land, or maybe land that could be used for pastures, but not for, say, corn, soybeans, or wheat crops, also become a real possibility. Now, right now, cellulose is not really economically in the mix. It's about 2 to 3 times the cost of producing ethanol or fuel from plant material as from corn. So the real thrust is going to be dramatically, we think, in the next 2 to 3 years to try to find the research answers to bringing down the cost of cellulose. Because our problem with corn seed is that primarily the corn seed is used as a food product. A food product to produce meat, milk, and eggs. Our high fructose corn syrup sweeteners that's in all of our sweet soft drinks, that it comes from the corn seed. So our dilemma is, as we use more and more of our corn for fuel, it competes with the food sector. So what that means is, if we can't raise the corn production enough, that we're going to have higher food prices. So we have to find this balance between how much can we use for food and how much for fuel, unless we can really crack a new feedstock, such as the plant material we've been talking about.
Of course, with the cropland that we have now, there's a lot of set-aside that might be able to be
That's right.
probably be used because of the price of corn now. It makes it maybe more feasible for them to utilize this farmland that is on set-aside.
Already part of the public debate. We do have 36 million acres across the United States that is in what is called the Conservation Reserve Program. Now that's a program, basically a 10-year program where the landowner agrees to set the land into non-productive means, non-agricultural production, and they get a payment from the government. Now, much of that land is very marginal land. It was in crop production, as you say, at one point, but there's also controversy or concerns there. For example, much of that land now is used for hunting land. A lot of it's out in the upper Great Plains area. There's concern about erosion. If that land comes back into production, it is highly erosive land. So I think there's no question we're going to see in the next, probably in the 2008 crop, we're going to see the U.S. Department of Agriculture trying to target the most productive of that land and allow some of that to come back into production. But our land base in the United States, our cropping base, we've been losing across the United States about 2 million acres a year, basically to urbanization, home building, commercial development building. So we don't have a large amount of acreage we believe we can bring back into production other than, as you say, this conservation reserve. So these are going to be some of the balances. If we put more of that conservation reserve land into production, it's more erosion, it's more nitrogen use on land, which tends to leach, get into our groundwater supplies. So there are some trade-offs that we see. So we get more fuel, but we also probably are going to put upward pressure on food prices. We'll also get some more erosion. Corn production also is the most input intensive. We use the most pesticides on corn, of all of our crops. We use the most fertilizers. So all of these leaching problems that we see from pesticides and fertilizers, the more fuel we get from corn, we create some more environmental concerns. So the real challenge for agriculture over the next 10 to 20 years is just how big of contribution can we make? Can we take our best productive soils and find ways to dramatically increase yields on those soils without environmental implications for that? So it's a huge challenge. It is a really pleasing time for those of us in agriculture that, again, society is turning back to the land as a way to try to solve one of our really big problems, and that is shortages of liquid energy.
Of course, you're up there at Purdue, and just like today, you're going to be speaking here. We're going to be looking to Purdue for these answers.
Well, that's right, and again, Purdue does have the ability to extract ethanol from cellulose or plant material through enzyme processes. And a massive amount of our research effort is now directed towards cellulose-based ethanol. Simply because if we use the corn seed, we're just going to put so much upward pressure on food prices. And it turns out agriculture is the food industry to the world first, and then we have to look at fuel as perhaps a secondary, or where can we really make contributions there. But those are enormous challenges, and our Purdue faculty at this point are as excited as I've seen them in 30 years because it touches so many areas, from the economics to the agronomy to the agricultural machinery, where we're now looking at systems, as an example, to harvest not just the corn seed, but in a one pass harvest the corn seed and a portion of the corn stalks. As we look at these ethanol plants, we think in probably 3 to 5 years, some of the ethanol plants will have dual lines where they're running both corn seed as well as corn stalks. And so this is extremely exciting. Our forestry area, wood products area, is very excited about coming to southern Indiana and seeing if we can develop ethanol, commercial ethanol production from our wood products industries, where we already have a natural resource.
Of course, you know, where do you see the price of a bushel of corn top out?
Well, again, this is one of the major questions that the farmers are going to be very interested in here today. Nobody has the answer to that when you go into time periods such as we're in now, which is really a new event. We've never had such a major growth in demand for corn as what we have right now for use for ethanol. But we are looking at the next, this spring, early summer, as a time that we could see the peak prices on corn. We do recognize that the ethanol industry does have a limit to what they can pay for corn. Now, right now, we think that's about $4.25 a bushel for corn. As we get into the summer and on into the fall, we think that could drop a little bit, maybe more like $3.75 to $4. So we are seeing something in this $4, $4.50 range as a level where a lot of the end users are really saying, ouch, financially, we're beginning to really suffer considerably in terms of financial losses. Now, that's not to say if we have some harmful weather this growing season, then we could certainly see corn prices back above $5. Only one other time we have seen that. But right now, with a normal weather projection for the spring and the summer, I think we're saying in the early spring, the April, May time period, we could see our highs. We're going to have a huge acreage response. That is a much higher corn acreage this year in 2007. And if that weather comes in normal, we think we're going to be able to get through the fall of 2000 and into 2008 with somewhat lower prices, maybe around the $4 mark. All bets are off, of course, if we have weather problems, and then, yes, we're going to be talking about even some shortages of some basic food products as we go into 2008.
Of course, we get, this corn price up, and now probably the use of the chemicals will probably increase as well.
It's very true, and again, these will have some environmental implications, both the pesticides that we use heavily on corn, as well as the fertilizers. Synthetic fertilizers are going to be much more important. And as we say, corn is the most input intensive and maybe the most environmentally degrading crop that we have. So these are going to be continuing challenges because agriculture is very interested in conserving not only the land for future generations, but obviously being good environmental stewards for all of society. But the demand is there. Producers are going to respond out at the farm level, and that means more pesticides and more chemicals that are going to be used. So any major change like this takes some years to work out the balancing act of how we do this in a very environmentally sound manner.
What about the byproduct from the ethanol?
Yeah, the corn, when it is fermented to make alcohol or ethanol, about 2/3 of the corn essentially is gone. The starch from the corn is used to ferment, which is the white part of the interior of the seed. Then everything that's left over from that process is a feed product called distiller's grains. And those distiller's grains are used for a feed product. So we're going to see particularly the cattle industry is able to utilize very effectively that product. They can use about 25% substitute for corn and soybean meal in the ration. But we're also certainly going to see it in the dairy rations as well as somewhat in hogs as well as poultry. Now, inclusion rates or how much they can put into poultry and hog rations are more like 10%. So the greatest benefit goes to the cattle industry. The less benefit will go to the hog and the poultry industry, but we're going to feed a lot of that. And that product, as we've seen corn and soybean meal prices go up, the distiller's grains have basically doubled in price here in the last 4 to 5 months also. So it's a valuable product. Both the animal industry here in the U.S. is interested in it, as well as in the export market, the animal industries throughout the world are beginning to really buy that product.
Now, somewhere, and I just, for maybe general information, you're feeding more to cattle. I understand that if they have multiple stomachs, this is okay to feed these animals. If it's a single stomach animal like a chicken or a hog, it's not beneficial, or
yes, and again, the advantage for the ruminant, the four-stomached animal, as you mentioned, the advantage is they can utilize more of the nutrients. Fiber, as an example, can be broken down. Grass, cattle can take grass and convert it into meat product. Hogs, poultry, single-stomached animals cannot use the fiber. So you have to keep the amounts lower in the ration. They can't get the same nutritional value out of it.
And what's the last word you have for the farmer on on the product we're talking about.
Okay, I think the last word is that we're looking at much better incomes for the farm sector, the best incomes in 30 years going back to the 1970s. There's tremendous excitement out in the farm sector. This is a sector that's worked very hard for really very low returns over the years. And that excitement and change that's coming about is also focused, they're focused on the challenge of both trying to provide the food for American consumers as well as some of the fuel. So new opportunities, and there's a lot of excitement and some profit opportunity for farmers.
Chris, your time is up. They're waiting for you at the
Thank
meeting.
you very much.
If you or someone you know has a talent to showcase or an event to promote on 27 Topics, please contact this station.
Welcome back to 27 Topics. Our guest is Tina Heichelbech, and she is a troop leader of the Girl Scouts. Welcome.
Thanks.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show. You're making your TV debut.
Yes.
There you go. That's great. That's always a big thrill. And but we're glad to have you, and we're going to be talking about the Girl Scouts. You have been a Girl Scout, and now you are a troop leader. Mm-hmm. So can you tell us a little bit about Girl Scouts?
Girl Scouts is a way for girls to get out and do things that they maybe wouldn't get to do at home with other girls their own age, learning some life skills, some craft skills, things that they can get to use in their lives in the future, and also some things, some different camping and skiing and things like that they maybe wouldn't get to do at home. It teaches them different kinds of ways to handle situations and things like that. At the same time, they also have service events where they can participate in events like skating and things like that with everyone. And we also do several types of events where we would collect food for the food bank, or send things overseas to the servicemen and women and things like that.
It seems like, the Girl Scouts, a lot of organizations have changed. From when you were a Girl Scout to today's Girl Scout, how has it changed?
I would say there's a lot more opportunity for them to actually get out and do things that are not just what I think more when I was in Scouts, they were more girl type items, where now they're, they can pretty much do about anything. They can do things that were at one time maybe weren't thought of as things little girls would learn how to do.
Skiing and...
Exactly.
a lot of sports and things like that.
Right.
And you do all of those things.
Right.
So how large is your troop?
Our troop right now has 10 girls. We are at 10th Street, and there's actually 2 troops at 10th Street that are in the 5th grade. And when we started, they each had a whole lot more girls, and it's kind of gotten a little smaller as the girls get older. But the troops usually range anywhere from 7 to 25 girls, depending on the age and how many leaders there are at that school or things like that.
Does it kind of work through the school? Just
It
kind of
does.
like Boy Scouts?
It does. It goes per their age at school, what grade they're in. They try to keep them together as an age group as they go through. Some of the schools are a little smaller and they have maybe more than one grade in one troop. But yeah, it does go usually by their grade, depending on whether they're a brownie or a junior. Depends on what grade they are.
What are the titles of the girls?
The younger ones are daisies. They are like the kindergarten age kids. And then they go to brownies and then juniors. And there's cadets and teens are in there also.
So they go all the way up through the teen years.
Right. And they do have seniors that are more like in high school age and things like that.
That is, and there's something for them to do throughout this whole
Right,
thing.
there is a Girl Scout book, a handbook that they can earn badges as they go through. They have different requirements in there that they have to do to earn that badge or try it or pedal, depending on what age group it is. And so they have different requirements to learn from that book, but then there's also the extra things that they can do too.
Like in the Boy Scouts, a lot of them work to get their Eagle badge. What is it in the Girl Scouts?
The highest one would be the Gold Award, which is what they earn right at the end of their high school age. They have bronze and silver, and then they have their Gold Award, which is the highest that they can get.
We always hear about Eagle Scouts a lot in the Boy Scouts, but it's for me, I don't know if we hear a lot about Girl Scouts winning the Gold Award or being awarded the Gold Award.
Right.
But they do.
They do, yes.
And next time that happens, we just need to be more aware of it,
That's right.
So, do you know roughly how many troops there are in the county?
I'm really not even sure. I know that it basically goes by, there's Holy Family and there's Ireland and Du Bois, it's all spread out for each school. So some of them I'm not sure how many of them are combined in grades together, but.
And you give tours, you visit places and businesses throughout the year.
Right, the different badges that they have teach them different things about, whatever skill they're trying to learn, and it gives you requirements to follow to make that, and some of those are taking tours of different places or having a guest speaker come in or actually going to some place and viewing it there. So,
if you had to tell the viewing audience why your daughter or why your girls should join the Girl Scouts, what would you tell them?
Well, I think they learn a lot about themselves, learning different things that they can do that they maybe wouldn't have ever thought to try. It builds their self-esteem. It teaches them to be self-reliant, trying to get along with the other girls in the troop, the different age levels when you go to the different events. So I think it really teaches them a lot about themselves and that they are self-reliant and can do things for themselves too. So
now, this time of the year, of course, many of us know about Girl Scout cookies,
right?
Which is very good, but it seems to come right after Christmas when everyone says, I need to be exercising, so we exercise and eat cookies. How do when you were a Girl Scout, you probably went from door to door. Mm-hmm. How did they do it today?
More today is through the families, the people that your parents work with, those type of things. But they also do have cookie booths where they'll set up at Walmart or, the various locations, Kmart. A lot of those places will work with us, and they purchase extra cookies, or we have a cookie cupboard that they can go and get cookies from and set up there and sell to people who maybe didn't have somebody come to their door or don't have anybody in the family that's selling right now. So that gives them an opportunity to, purchase at places that they normally go to.
I know, in our neighborhood it's older, and we don't have those kids come to the door like they used to, even though we would know them being in the neighborhood.
Right.
But anyway, I ate some Girl Scout cookies last night. They were pretty good. Those lemonades or whatever they're called.
Those are new this year. I like those.
Those are very good. Mm-hmm. And what are some of the other cookies?
The shortbread ones are, I think, the only original cookie other than the Thin Mints. Everyone remembers the Thin Mints. There's a Caramel Delight that has toasted coconut on the top of a caramel cookie.
Very good. I can tell you that too.
Yeah.
Can't you tell?
The peanut butter sandwiches and peanut butter patties, and there's another one, I can't think of what it is.
And we probably have it, but we seem to find them every year, and they really are good.
Right.
And,
the initial cookie sale is actually over, and the cookies have now come in. They came in the week of Valentine's Day, and but yeah, if you didn't order enough or you didn't get any purchased at all, you can still contact any of the Girl Scouts, or a lot of times if you look at any of those locations that are places that people go to frequently, there'll be people selling there, especially for the next several weekends. So,
how do you know how many? So you take orders,
right?
How do you know how many extras you need?
Well, first, when you place your orders, they compile them as a troop, and they have to actually purchase a full case. So, as an example, if we have all of our 9 or 10 girls, and we sell up to maybe we only sell 10 instead of 12, which is in a case, we have to still purchase that case. So we are right there, we have 2 boxes of cookies that we would have to sell. And then the troops can decide then if they want to purchase a little more than that and have those readily available at the cookie booths, or they can get them from a cookie cupboard, which is more of a council side of it. Everyone in the whole area can take from there to take to their cookie booth to sell. So it's kind of up to each troop if they want to purchase some more on their own, and then they would have to sell them, or they can borrow them from the cookie cupboard and return them, swap them back in and out with whoever else needs them. So
that all those methods are used?
Yes.
And then you do this for a month or two?
Right. I think the money actually has to be turned in toward the end of March. But, depending on if they purchased way too many, they may still be having cookie booths or things like that to try to get rid of some of those last boxes that maybe they weren't able to sell yet. So.
Let's take your troop for an example. Do you buy extra cases?
We do buy a few extra cases because we normally try to have 4 cookie booths. That gives each of the girls an opportunity to maybe work at 2 of the cookie booths, so we can kind of spread it out without having 9 girls there at one time, and then they can pick which ones they want to go to. So we do usually order a little bit extra, usually an extra case or 2, and then once we sell all those, then we do get some from the cookie cupboard to help put us to that next level.
And that's probably a good training for them to be out there merchandising their their cookies.
It is. They get creative with posters and things that we hang up and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Do you then, as a troop leader, get together with the other leaders in the county to determine where the cookies are?
No, pretty much they're on their own. They basically have to call those locations that have in the past let us put cookies, sell cookies there, and they have a calendar that they put people into, say which day is free and what time.
So if you didn't get your Girl Scout cookies, you may want to call or get a hold of who?
They can call me. They can anybody that's involved in the Girl Scouts at all, or if they're not sure who has a Girl Scout, they can call the school and they can give them the name of a leader that's there. There's cookie moms and leaders at each school. So
there in every elementary school in the county and high school, there probably is. There's a Girl Scout troop of some type.
Yes, there definitely is.
So just call the local school or. But you didn't give out your phone number.
Oh, well, my number is 634-2699. So we can definitely get them to you if you want them.
364-2699.
634.
Oh, 634-2699.
Yeah.
Very good. And again, just tell us a little bit about inviting the Girl Scouts or girls to join.
Okay. At the beginning of every school year, they try to send flyers home. But if you haven't joined and they still want to join, they still can. We have representatives at every school. They're TSD leaders is what they're called. And at each school, those people can get you into the right age level, a troop that's already there. So they really can join at any time of the year.
Tina, we want to thank you for being our guest, telling us all about Girl Scouts and Girl Scout cookies.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.